Hey there, I've got this image, the San Francisco skyline, and I've decided I need to add some stars to it. There's too much light pollution here, which makes the stars invisible. Let's get straight to it. First thing you want to do is you need to find an image with stars. So what I did is I jumped over to Pixabay and found this image that had a bunch of stars in it that I liked and downloaded it. Now back in Photoshop, I open that particular image up, which is this one. I'm going to just drag and drop it over my skyline image. And as you can see, it's a bit smaller and it just covers everything. That's no problem. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change my blend mode to screen. Now I can kind of see where it's coming through at. I want my brightest part of that image to kind of match the brightest section of the city, so right in the middle there. Next thing I'm going to need to do is fill in these side bits. You don't want to kind of expand it in order to make it larger, because then you're going to end up with a bunch of really large stars. What you want to do is you want to duplicate it. I'm going to click my Alt key, and I'm going to just drag and drop it off to the side and move it right where that lines up. Perfect. And it's okay that you can kind of see the lines. That's not a problem. I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. You can, if you want, maybe to use the similar edge. That's no problem. Just click on the edge here, hit your shift key, and then just pull it over to the side until you're happy with it. And line it up again. Hit enter. There we go. So that's looking good. My sky is covered by stars, and I'm happy with that. Now what we want to do is we want to merge those three layers into one layer. Hit your shift key and click on each layer, then right click and go merge layers. That merges them into one. What it does is when you merge layers, it automatically flips the blend mode back to normal, so you just got to switch it back to screen. Okay, we're getting there, and don't worry that it doesn't look great yet. Next thing I want to do is I want to get rid of some of that extra light that's in the back here, and so I'm going to go to my adjustments. You can do it with your little adjustments down here as well. I'm going to go levels, and I'm going to use a levels adjustment. Now I want this levels to apply only to the layer with the stars on it, because the other one looks the way I want it to look. So what you do with your levels adjustment layer, right click, and then what you want to do is go create a clipping mask, and you'll see it adds this little down arrow, and that means it's going to apply this adjustment just to that particular layer. And now you'll see when I drag my blacks on the left here, notice it's dropping all of those blacks in the sky. I don't want to bring up any of the whites. I want to darken it because it's going to keep all those whites in there and get it right to where I want it. And we can always readjust this later on if we need to. Next thing we need to do is we need to start getting rid of all of this stuff here in the foreground. So I'm going to shift and click on both my stars layer and my levels layer, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to go new group from layers. I'm just going to leave it at the default name. You can name it something if you want. And then I'm going to click the little eyeball so I can't see it. And what I want to do now is I want to make sure I've got my skyline selected. So I'm going to go add new layer. It's going to add a new layer above the other two. And I'm going to grab my quick selection tool. You can use the magic wand as well. Since my skyline's a bit rigid, I'm going to go quick selection. I think it works a little better for this, but if your skyline's a little smoother, you can use the magic wand and just start selecting that skyline with that new layer. Now I've gone over a bit on the city, and that's no problem. I'm just going to zoom in here, and I'm going to hit the Alt key, and I'm just going to start running the mouse pointer kind of right around the buildings edges, so that way I've got the buildings. If I go a little bit too far like I did here, just let up on the Alt key and drag it back down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip the video ahead so that you don't have to watch me do all of these selections. Okay, now I've adjusted it so that the selection is only choosing the sky. I'm going to take that group and I'm going to re-enable it so I can see it again. And now on that group layer, what I want to do is I want to add layer mask. So I'm just going to go down and click the little layer mask icon. And you see as soon as I do that, all of those stars in the foreground disappear. All of the stars in the sky have reappeared. Now what you can do, if let's say you've gone a little over in areas that you don't want, grab your brush tool and then switch from white to black. And let's say hypothetically there were some stars here that I didn't get, or maybe I want to remove some of the stars. Just kind of paint over, and you see when you've got select black selected, it's going to remove everything. Do a quick Control Z to get rid of that. If you have white, it's going to add. So I'm pretty happy here actually where all of these are. So I'm not really going to remove any, but if I wanted to, I could. Okay, that's the basic. Mine still doesn't look quite right, so I'm going to make some additional adjustments here, and I'm going to show you what I'm doing. Now, as you can see, first of all, it's very blue because the original image that I had, I processed the way I wanted it, but the one that the stars, I did not. So what I'm going to do is go and add some additional adjustments to that, and this is where it's kind of nice because you can continually readjust it as you want. First adjustment I'm going to do is maybe a hue saturation. Let's drag that down just a bit. So yeah, that's it. Looks a little more black and whitish, and so that's looking better. And let's say I want to adjust those stars a little bit. I can do that too. I just need to go back to that group and hit my move tool, and then I can just grab and move my stars around. Ooh, cool. Makes it look like the stars are moving in the sky. And so what I'm going to do is bring that down just a bit more. I think it was still a bit too bright around the city. Good. And let's maybe adjust my levels just a little bit more as well. And that's pretty much it. I'm reasonably happy with it. I could play with it a little bit more, but I'm not going to. There we go, drop the opacity a little bit. I'm not going to mess with it a whole lot more because at this point the tutorial is done. You've gotten what you need out of it. As always, leave a comment, give me a thumbs up, all that kind of crap that they tell you to say on YouTube, and hope you found this useful.